Hi, everybody. Welcome to Barsha, episode 33, The Broadway Buddhist, with Donna Walker-Kuhne. So, without further ado, let me bring to camera Donna Walker-Kuhne. Yay! Donna's here.
Thank you.
Hey, Donna.
Hi.
So I always sing a little song for my guests, so I'm going to sing one for you. Okay.
Oh, I love it.
Where do you go on Mondays when you want to have fun? Where can you go on Mondays when your day is done? Well, Fireside Chat is where it's at. Our guests are all the best. Well, she's a Buddhist with a mission. She's got major recognition. Social justice is her tune. She's Donna Walker-Kuhne. Join me in welcoming Donna Walker-Kuhne.
I love this. You go, Deborah.
So, Donna, remember, if you want to see me bigger, you just touch my video. But look at all the beautiful people in the audience here today, because we really want to welcome you. This is just an amazing honor to have you here. I've known you a long time, but to actually interview you about your incredible work is something I'm very excited about. So first off, let me give you your proper bio. I need to tell you all, Donna shrunk this bio to a paragraph, but it's years and years and 5 pages of stuff. Okay, so let me introduce you correctly. You're an award-winning thought leader. I love this. Writer, strategist for community engagement, audience development, and social justice. And you're president, which I put in the scrolling LED down there, fortune cookie, of Walker International Communications Group. And that is a 30-year-old boutique marketing and audience development consulting agency. You have worked in so many places: Public Theater, which is where we actually connected, Dance Theater of Harlem, and you provide consulting services to all the arts organizations throughout the world. And they have generated over $22 million in earned income. Is that right? Yes.
My work has generated that.
It's unbelievable. Thank you, everybody. So let's put this into layman's terms, because I'm going to give all the awards you've gotten, but I want to talk. People have preconceived notions about diversity, equity, inclusion training. Yes. You specifically do it in the arts, where I really feel it needs, until this year and until the pandemic, how have you been doing this? Have you been doing it through producers on Broadway? What have you been doing? Mm-hmm. Can you walk us through a day?
Of course. So this started actually with my work at Dance Theater of Harlem in 1984. And at that time, the Dance Theater of Harlem was very successful. It was a primarily African-American ballet company touring around the world. But when we toured in the United States, we noticed that the audiences lacked people of color. And we were concerned because we were in major urban cities. This was like Chicago, LA, Detroit. And so Arthur Mitchell asked me, could you find out where are the Black people? Because how come they're not here in the theater? And so I started working with the presenters, and I asked them, what are you doing? What are your concerns? And they said, we have the same questions. We don't know what to do either. So then I started looking around to see which theaters might be successful, and I found one in Cleveland, and they had an audience development committee, and I thought that's a great idea. And so I created the National Audience Development Task Force, which meant that for every city we toured to in the United States, I visited them in advance, identified Black cultural leaders and influencers, formed a committee, gave them the challenge, the task, the materials, and goals. And so for those 6 months before our engagement, they were building promotions. They were, bringing DTH where they live. The difference is it's not a campaign where you place an ad in the paper and expect everyone to respond. We go to where people are. So we were in the hair salons, the barbershops, the committee meetings, people's homes. That's where people are. So when you bring arts and culture to them, it has a much different kind of reception. So that's where it started. And so a
And
typical day for me would be, looking at, okay, what's the goal? What are the initiatives that we have? What are some of the challenges? And then some special event that we would have in the evening. I work a lot with libraries. I work a lot with boutiques. I go where people live, where they are. My flower shop distributes flyers to over 30 churches in Queens and Brooklyn. And we've been doing that for 30 years. And so I think that's been tactics that have been successful.
this
Yeah.
is amazing. You notice people are clapping
Yeah.
because this is so needed. And yes, thank you, everybody. This is amazing. And Donna's been doing this, like she said, since 1984. Donna, what did you notice? Was there something that was similar to any culture that you would go, any place of culture that you would go to and say, why aren't you showing up for arts? Well, like, what were they saying to you? That it wasn't being marketed to them, or
I
was it?
wasn't invited. Very
Oh,
simple. Very simple. I was not invited, which is
wow.
why the name of my first book is Invitation to the Party, because I definitely understand that most people of color, when you're going into a space that is predominantly white, you want to make sure you're invited because you do
Right.
not want any embarrassing situations. And so white institutions don't necessarily understand that. So they're using traditional marketing tactics, but that doesn't translate to me, Donna, that I'm invited to come and see what you're doing and that I will be welcomed when I come. No one's going to be looking at me sideways saying, well, who let her in? But in fact, it's going to be a celebration, a warm welcome. And that's the key difference. And so George
Can,
gave me the access to be able to create those welcomes at the public theater. And that's when I
oh,
really started to see the difference.
and you had, okay, let's tell them where we met. Okay, so we're both Buddhists, and we're going to talk about how Donna applies Buddhism to her life and her work. Because what I love about you, Donna, is that you are so passionate. I feel like you were born to do this. Is that true?
Oh, I
Like,
was. Absolutely. I'm
like I,
so
s-
clear.
yeah, like
So clear.
you were always clear about this, and you did it
Yeah.
in such a way that I don't. You know, it's wrong these days to say anything. I always listen to my words, listen to what I say because of white
Yeah.
privilege and because of the way I
That's
was
right.
raised in this society. So I don't want to
Mhm.
say you made it palatable or you made it whatever. I'm just saying you made it real is what I'm trying to say. And that this
Yes.
is what we all needed and we took it in. So at the public
Yeah.
theater, when I was there having my show done,
Hmm.
the George she's talking about is George C. Wolfe. Donna had an office here, and this was her mission, right, Donna? This was your
Yes.
mission. And so I would go to Donna's office and I would ask her how I should chant about this. As you know, we both practice SGI Nichiren Buddhism. And I would say, how do I chant about this? It's getting postponed. It's doing this.
Hmm.
How do I reach the audience I want to reach? And what is my cause behind doing this show? So not only was Donna being my Buddhist leader, but she was encouraging me and my show to reach as many people as they could. Would that be a good description of what you were
Yes.
doing? Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and at the public theater, what do you consider your biggest accomplishment, and how long were you there?
I was there for 9 years, almost to the day. I would say thank you. I would say my biggest accomplishment was actually fulfilling the goal that George asked me to do. When I met him for the first time, just for a talk, he said, I would like the audiences to look like a subway stop. How would you do it? And by
And what
my
did you
ninth
say?
year, I said, well, I knew how to do it with the African American community because by then I had done 9 years at Dance Theater of Harlem. So I knew how to bring Black people to ballet. And I figured I can translate those tools. I can make that happen with our Latino, our Asian, our LGBTQ, and our seniors, students. I just felt confident that I had done enough work to understand how people think, what are the psychographics, the behavior of people to leave their home and go to someone else's place that they don't know. And
Wow.
I just felt very confident about that. So I was just chatting with him casually because I didn't know what was going to happen from the conversation, and I just said, this is what I would do. And he said, okay. And then he called me the week later and said, when can you start? How many staff would you like? And what salary do you want? So I thought I was dreaming. I said, nobody gets these kind of phone calls. But then, I pinched myself a couple of times, and he was very sincere. So, I left DTH in 30 days. I gave him 30 days to bring everything together and started. So on my first day, we started with a blank desk. I had Joe Papp's desk, actually. I took it from
Wow.
the production department because it's
Wow.
really nice. It's a lovely antique desk. So my first day was the desk, my Rolodex from Harlem, and 3 staff people who hadn't a clue what we were about to do. That's how we started. So
That
my prayer was for us to fulfill our mission to bring about diversity to the audiences in the most humanistic and joyful way. That this was not some heavy austerity, oh, so painful, but that we're laughing, we're enjoying the arts and the impact that theater brings to us. And so that's what we focused on. And I really chanted for us to be united, for us to meet the right people, for us to experience respect, all of those values. I made that my prayer because I wanted to protect them as well. I didn't want them, this was their first time working in audience development. I didn't want to scare them away. So I wanted to make
that's what
sure the
I meant.
experience, yeah, I wanted to make sure the experience was positive. And so it was. So definitely, definitely fulfilling that goal of having the audiences look like a subway stop, and the success of bringing the noise, bringing the funk.
Oh,
That will always be my most golden memory because I
that
was given the freedom. You got a wild audience here.
oh, they're
I
great.
was,
They love you. This is
I love it.
what
I was given the freedom, the opportunity, and resources to envision what kind of audience I wanted, how to sustain them. And because of the success we had at the Public Theater, the board of directors decided to transfer it to Broadway with the proviso that I would be responsible for audience development and bring that sense of mission to Broadway. So this was the
oh,
first time a nonprofit was actually focused on DEI on Broadway. And that was what, 1995, I believe.
and that
And
I need to give you applause for that.
thank you.
That was 1995, okay? Now, I want to say that did you also have programs to follow up with those audience that initially came for the first time?
Mhm.
So does it go further than just getting them there?
Yes. What was so great about working with George is that every year he programmed so that I had a menu to offer our diverse audiences. So one year I had, the Asian American Theater Festival. Another year I could target the Latino community. Then another year, I had Susan Laurie Parks for 5 years. I had just the most extraordinary playwrights. Most of them were alive and local. So not only did I have the work, I had access to them. And they would come with me to various community events. I took everybody around. I took Ruben Santiago Hudson when we were doing
Yes.
Lackawanna Blues. I took Rosie Perez when we were doing one of the plays. So, it's like they understood if we're here at the public, that means community. Let's go. So that just made such a huge difference. And so, yes, audiences continue to come because of the welcome, because of the product, and because of their pride. Many of them wanted to support George. They wanted to make sure he was a success. And so showing up was 90% of that. And they did. And
And
I
so,
still work with many of those ticket buyers and group leaders today. I just pull them with me wherever I go.
yes, and I know right now, everybody, Donna is at NJPAC, which is New Jersey Performing Arts
Center.
Center. Thank you.
Mhm.
And do you have like an office there, or do you travel
Yes,
all around?
this is my
And
office.
this is amazing. Look, she's
This
got
is
an
my
Alvin Ailey.
office.
This is amazing. So
Yeah.
this is what people see. People don't know about these people behind the scenes. This is one of the
That's right.
reasons I really wanted to interview you, because you don't know
Mhm.
everybody down there in the audience what's going on
That's
behind the
right.
scenes and how to get audiences in their seats. And
Hmm.
the pandemic and George Floyd changed everything. As Donna and
Yes,
I
it did.
both know, there was not any HR in theater. We had to go to the stage manager.
That's right.
So now you have a group that, let's say, a Broadway producer could call you and say, "Can you come in? We need you to come in and do you do workshops, or what do you do? Or do you just do audience
So,
development?"
well, for Broadway, before George Floyd, my company was hired to bring in African American audiences. We worked on 23 different Broadway shows. And all of that was to focus on bringing in the Black community. So we did that in a lot of creative ways. Some producers were more flexible than others, but we tried to implement the strategies as much as we could. And then I have not worked on a Broadway show since that time. But what we have done is align ourselves with so many of the advocacy groups that evolved after the murder of George Floyd. So you have the Black United Fund, you have, just at
Broadway
least 10 of them.
Advocate Coalition, which
Yeah, the
the
Advocacy
woman that
Coalition.
played
Yeah,
Tina in our show started with a couple of other people. Yeah.
exactly. So there's at least 10 of those. And then you have the Broadway League, which has a very, very dynamic diversity initiative, led by Janine Scott, which I think
Yeah.
is doing a great job. Then you have the Schubert Theater. So each of the producing theaters, were asked, to deliver
Right.
initiatives. And so the We See You White America Theater petition, that is now a 33-page document that lists what changes the Black and Brown community want to see. That has been a very powerful force to enable theater producers to understand what they can do. So the fact that we have 2 theaters now named after Black people, that came from We See You White American Theater.
And so
The
that's Lena
negotiation.
Horne, Lena
Yes.
Horne, August
Hmm.
Wilson.
Yes. Yes,
This
yes.
is
And the fact that the season opened, after, during COVID, but, when the season opened again last year, there was 7 plays by Black playwrights.
I know.
Unprecedented. Never had that before.
I
Never.
know.
So there's power in advocacy and uniting. There's
That's
power
what
in that.
I want to say.
Yeah.
What is your theory about? I watched a couple of your videos on YouTube, just even the one from NJPAC, and you mentioned buzzwords. Let's just say some people might not really understand them. Would you mind? I know it's not your responsibility to educate,
Sure.
but
No, it's fine.
you said colorism, critical race theory, day of silence, and resilience. So that's what I'd love to talk about: colorism, critical race
Sure.
theory, day of silence, and resilience, so that people who don't
Okay.
want to admit they're ignorant about that will really hear this. Go ahead.
I'm happy to talk about that. Thank you so much. And thank you for taking a look at, there's a lot of content out there. So at New Jersey Performing Arts Center, I was asked to be the vice president of marketing in 2012. And at that time, I still had my company. And so my question to John Schreiber, who's our president and CEO, was, how can I take on a full-time position and run my company? And he said, I don't know, but 75% of you is better than 100% of the people we've interviewed. So let's work this out. And so we did. And so I took on that role of, marketing for a performing arts center. That means a different show every night. So different from theater, where the show sits down, there's a rehearsal period. You get to court the artist, the playwright, the director. None of that. Show loads in 6 o'clock. Break at 7:30. Show hits at 8, done 10, load out. I never saw anybody. I didn't see one person because I'm too, busy trying to sell tickets. So that was a very different from what I had been accustomed to. But I said yes to the position because I knew so few Black women held that kind of leadership role and power and authority to really direct the marketing strategies. And Newark, New Jersey, is a predominantly Black and brown city, and I just felt this is something I need to respond to. So I did that for 2 years, and then I just kept noticing that the communities of color were not really coming inside our building in significant numbers. The audiences were primarily white people who lived in the surrounding suburbs. So I thought, well, wait a minute, we need to get the people across the street. So I need to focus on that. So that's when I made a proposal to John to develop a community engagement department.
Wow.
And so he agreed that I could be the vice president of community engagement. I was the second vice president in the United States of community engagement at a performing arts center.
Oh,
So that meant I had a dedicated budget, I had a staff, and I had the time to dream. What arts
Yes.
administrators need is dream time. We have to figure it out. So if you always have your head down doing these tasks, you miss opportunities. And so this enabled me to think about what would communities of color do. So I created lots of different initiatives for that. So fast forward, I served in that capacity for 2 years, and then I kept getting requests for consulting, for speaking, and I just renegotiated my contract that I would be a consultant here
Got it.
and be free to respond to some of the other different requests that I felt I needed to respond to. So I've been consulting here now for 6 years, although they think I'm full time, but I'm consulting because I have many other clients as well. But you treat each client as if they're the only one you have.
That's
That's how you
right.
keep them. And so after the murder of George Floyd, I again went to John with a proposal and said, as the state's arts agency, we have to demonstrate what anti discriminatory behavior looks like. How do we
Mm.
address systemic racism? We need to do this. And I want to do it in such a way where people take action. That we're not just going to sit around and commiserate about how bad things are. I want to offer people a checklist. These are the things you can do right where you stand. And so he agreed. And so we called this activity Standing in Solidarity. And we used the model that we had already built with PSE&G, our corporate sponsor, our True Diversity film series. So we said we would form a book club. This is like a book club, but it's a film. And so we will identify a film, identify the topic, send the link to the film out a week before the panel discussion, and then have a panel discussion to unpack the key issues and conclude with action steps. So we're now in our third year of standing in solidarity. So the 4 points that you mentioned are some of the topics from standing in solidarity. We choose issues that impact communities of color. Colorism
Yes.
was a very, very dynamic panel. I mean, I thought the computer would explode because people have so many opinions about that. And colorism is essentially where black and brown people who have come from countries that have been colonized
Yes.
aspire to be light skinned or as white looking as possible because
Right.
for them they believe that's success. They believe that that is the only way to live. So we had panelists from India, from Latin America, from here locally, to really talk about the impact of what that
Yes.
means when you're denying your brown skin, your
Yeah.
natural hair. So this panel was about exploring that, but also now what can we do? So we talked about language. So saying things like you have good hair, that's colorism because that's
Right.
saying your nappy hair, something's wrong with it. Or
Right.
saying that she's too dark, or those who use the skin lightening creams. The film that we use actually highlighted the danger of these skin lightening creams that they create, cancer, and some women have died from that. And
Right.
in Africa, it's actually illegal, but there's a whole nother underground movement doing it because the women are so desperate to not celebrate their brown skin.
Right.
So that was a hot one. Then the critical race theory. So, as you know, there's legislation now prohibiting the teaching of critical race theory, primarily in Florida, starting in Ohio and Texas. Very conservative thinking that wants to erase the truth and history of America.
Right.
They feel that this would be damaging to their children. We can't teach them that your ancestors were slave owners, and just the horror of all of that.
Right.
And so they have now created legislation that if a teacher wants to teach it, they will be fired and arrested. And so this panel was to talk about the impact of that. What happens when you raise a generation of predominantly white kids who don't even know the history here in America of slavery? They don't know the impact of that and what
Right.
that means moving forward.
Right.
And so this panel was, what can you do? So we talked about, letter writing campaigns to elected officials, and really aligning ourselves with other entities, that are moving forward, such as the NAACP and the ACLU, who are really fighting on the front lines for freedom to talk about, the truth. There's nothing made up. So that was another really dynamic panel. the what was that? National Day of Silence. So for our
Yes.
LGBTQ community, we have a very, very active employee resource group here, led by some fantastic leaders in the community. And one of the things we wanted to do was demonstrate solidarity. So this is a national day that's acknowledged around the country to support gay youth who have come out in their communities and families. And as you know, many times they're kicked out of their homes. They
Right.
have to find new places to live, new ways of surviving. And so for us, we decided to acknowledge this day by having masks made, the face masks made in the pride colors. And then we wore them throughout the day. And then we took a group shot. We posted it on social media. So that was our way of acknowledging that physically. We then held a panel discussion. Again, another Standing in Solidarity panel discussion with 3 youth, all under 18, talking about what it was like when they told their parents, I'm gay. This is how I feel.
Right.
This is what I'm going to do. And so, again, the purpose of that panel was for us to realize how to be an ally to LGBTQ youth. Not assume that everything is all fine and wonderful, but see, are you okay? To see, are they living where they are safe, secure? Where can they thrive? And we're doing it again this year. It's an annual event that we will do every year.
That's
We are
great.
committed to that. And then thank you.
Resilience. Right.
Resilience was, again, as a result of COVID. We know how the Chinese community, particularly here in New York, was being attacked because,
Right.
we had a president who called it the China flu, the
Ugh.
China virus. And so people started directing their energy to the Chinese community, especially people who lost family and friends. And
Right.
so they're getting beat up. Their stores are being broken into. They're really, really suffering. So this panel was about how the Chinese American community, particularly in New York, are uniting to support each other. They have walkers for the elderly Chinese so that there's someone that walks them with them to shop, about language, about if you see someone abusing a person, a Chinese person, please do something. Shout out, do something. Get on your phone, 911. And so this was to bring to attention that because of those words and people not understanding COVID itself, that you had a whole community that was really suffering physically, financially. But they were also resilient, also determined. We're going to get through this. And so we can be allies to them. So that was that one that we did.
Ah, I love all this. This is like so inspiring. And I want to see everyone loves it because you're right there. This is your mission. This is your thing. Like you don't
Yeah,
even have to, this is just where you live. And I wanted
that's
to
right.
say, can we talk about everything you just said in terms of Buddhism? Because sometimes people
Yep.
get really, they diminish them. They feel like I can't do anything in this world. This is just, it's so beyond anything. And we as Buddhists create value out
Yes.
of anything. And that's what our
Yes.
practice is. So was there ever a time though, because we're all human, was there ever a time where
Yeah.
you were like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to use my Buddhist practice and dream bigger than I can because I don't have a solution right now. I mean, that's hard because you're
Um,
such a person of
yeah,
determination.
I don't recall ever feeling like I don't know what to do, but I definitely have many opportunities to draw on the wonderful resources I have, the various partners that I have. For instance, with the Standing in Solidarity, I have 6 advisory organizations who
Wow.
help us select the topics, help us choose the panelists. And so I make sure I surround myself with
With the
people
right
who
people.
share the same vision. And that's because of my prayer. So I chant to connect with the people who we can be on the same path. I chant that we can unite. I really chant that we share the same vision. So I don't need any toxicity in this effort. I'm too old, been doing this too long. So I do not have
That's
that
right.
in my environment. That is not in my orbit because I made it a point.
Oh,
That is definitely my intention. And so
can you
because
feel
of
it,
that,
everybody?
then I can, yes.
It's, you know what it is,
So
Donna?
because that's my intention and based on, yeah,
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you know what it is with you, and this is why.
That's okay.
You do all this
Go ahead.
with joy, may I just say. And it is a very serious
Yes.
subject.
Yes, I do.
We need to change things majorly, and it's been a long time. But there's something about the way you present it for me that's in a spirit of joy that makes me want to do. You say actionable steps a lot in some of these videos. Like, you know, and
Yes.
can we talk about,
Yes.
because, you know, our practice of Buddhism is also one-on-one and dialogue. And some of these actionable steps, what can we do to start with all of this systemic racism? What can we do? You know, first steps, like,
We start, first step, first of all, to understand this is me work.
right.
This is what you have to do. It's not a they conversation. This is me work. That's the first step. Second step is to start to study. There is a plethora of books, TED Talks, articles. So you start educating yourself.
Right.
Then you might decide to take some courses. There's a lot of universities are offering this training. You know, it depends on how committed you want to be.
Right.
You can join reading clubs that are studying books like White Fragility or How to Be an Anti-Racist. And, you know, there's just a lot of content out there. What you don't want to do is ask a person of color to educate you.
Right. That's why I
Because
felt
we're
bad
tired.
asking the question.
We're tired of doing that.
I know. I didn't want to ask the
tired of
question,
doing
but see, that's as a white person, that's what I really want to talk
But
about.
that's different.
Oh, okay.
That's
What-
a different point. You asking me what can we do versus can you teach me what
Right.
film should I watch? What book should I get? Find out. It's right out there.
Right. That's
Because that's
right.
part of your commitment. That's part of your commitment to do your human revolution, which is a Buddhist concept we have of transforming from the inside out. And so that means I take responsibility for my life. Take full responsibility. You don't have to blame your parents. You don't have to blame all these other people. Look at your own life. What organizations are you a member of? What do your friends look like, your circle? Do you place yourself in environments where you're not the majority? What cultural events do you go and experience? So those are action steps you can take right now. You should be a member of the NAACP. Join them. So, you know, all of these civil rights organizations that are advancing these conversations. Then you can speak from a place of action. It's like, yes, I know I have a
Yes.
lot of work to do. And I'm reading this and I joined this and I'm talking to these people and knowing that this is forever endeavor. There's no there
Yes.
there.
And you,
We're not going to
yes.
get to this
And you know,
spot.
it's funny. After Tina shut down for the 18 months and we were in the cast, we did start a book club. We started really educating ourselves. And then part of me, you know, the subject in most of these books of virtue signaling came up. And then I was like, wait a minute, you know, I'm proud that I'm taking steps, but now does it look like virtue signaling? I mean, these are very real things. And that's a white privilege thing to even think. You see what I mean? So it becomes this. So I had to chant a lot about it because I don't want to seem like I'm going, hello, I'm doing all these things. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
That's right. Well, you don't need to. Just be it. Be
right.
it.
Exactly. I love that we're
Be it. You don't need to tell anybody what you're doing. Just do it.
Donna, I see what you're doing here today. It's major what you're doing. I just want to say one thing and ask you this before I go into a list of awards that I need to say that Donna has achieved.
Deborah, please don't read that long
No,
list. Please.
Okay. Can you pick out one of the ones that really means something? They're all beautiful. What about the latest one?
Yes, they are.
The Signature Theater. The Signature.
Yes.
Why don't you speak about that? Because I have a picture of you with your daughter on the red carpet there.
Yes. That was the Crothers. What was her first name? Wait a minute.
I have it right here.
It was in...
Oh, it's not on this particular thing. Yeah. By the way, everybody, while she's trying to find it, go to walkercommunicationsgroup.com. Click on it while we're even talking and just see what Donna has done. She doesn't want me to read all her awards, but they're all there. Okay. And the other thing is, I want to know from Donna, once she finds out the last award she got. How do you train for something like this? Do you just exist in your life and have a passion and go forward? That's what I did with music. But do you have to, is there a specific thing that you go to school for? You don't have to. You're living in this world, right?
Yes. Yes, there is. Yes. I teach what I do at NYU, Columbia, and Bank Street. I've been teaching for 28 years.
Wow.
And I teach because one of my missions is to support the generation of arts administrators to live and work from this space, from the diversity, equity, inclusion space. So whatever I'm doing for that day, that's what I teach. So they learn how to do various campaigns. They understand the distinctions. Because if you're in my class, if you're going to stay in my class, you've got to deliver. There's nobody coasting. You're not allowed to do that. I'll get your butt out. I don't need you. I'm not teaching for the money. I'm teaching to help transform the way arts administrators move forward.
The way arts administrators,
two new classes.
This is in the arts, everybody. This is
yes,
that's
what I am.
But do you understand? Everybody just goes to a Broadway show. They don't even think people like you are working behind the scenes to really change the landscape of our theater world. I just really have to just...
It's okay.
I just love you. And
it's okay. Thank you, but we never did it for that. We did it. I do it for the arts.
Right.
I serve the arts. That's why I do it.
Because and you know the arts
colleagues as well.
Arts changed the world too through the lens of art.
Exactly.
That changes the
That's
world.
Right. So I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that.
Okay, and go ahead.
So the teaching piece is my first love. That's my first love, is teaching.
Right.
I'll do that till breath left in my body. I will always teach and mentor. So right now I have 3 arts administrators that I'm helping move forward, to land on their feet, to be able to make a difference where they work. So if you're not mentoring someone, then you're taking up space. You need to move out the way. I think that's everyone's responsibility, is to mentor someone else and then to have mentees. You also need a mentor. So I have 3 mentors, and I'm mentoring young people, and they need to be different ages so you can keep learning. This is how you stay vibrant and relevant. So if you think you know everything, then you need to just take a seat, because you don't. I know I don't. I keep learning from them all the time.
Okay, Donna. All right.
I'm still looking up the name of this award.
Okay, look up the name. I still have questions. I'm so happy. First of all,
please go ahead.
I want to ask you questions about, because I do want to ask you if you would like. I usually ask if people have a Q&As. Is it okay if people come up and ask you questions?
Oh, yes.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay. I love that.
So I'm putting it out now early because I see how amazing this talk is. I usually do it last 15 minutes, but now I'm kind of a little longer. If anybody wants to come up, please, you know how to do it. You go to the little 2 white lines and you ask to come up, and I will bring you up to ask Donna any questions, because this is one of those real conversations. You're really getting this from a source that you don't normally get it from. Okay, here is one person named Graciela. Do you want to come to camera, Graciela, or no?
No, it's getting dark, and I'm in the dark in the room, but oh my gosh, Donna, I want to thank you on behalf of all minorities. So I'm Puerto Rican, so I want to thank you on behalf of all minorities, because I've missed a few of Deborah's episode, and I'm so grateful that I made it to this one. What a joy you are. And you're wearing purple, and you're so beautiful. I love this. Yeah, your energy is just so beautiful. So thank you for being that kind of angel behind the scenes, moving that wheel along for minorities everywhere, honestly, because it's leaders that like you that open the door for everyone else that needs a voice. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, Graciela, thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very, very welcome. You know, I every day my prayer is to be happy.
Oh.
And so that's who I am. That's who I am. I pray every day to be happy despite the challenges. By no means do I want you to think I have this problem-free life. Please, I got a teenager, so you know I have a lot of things going on. But despite that, I can keep my life condition raised, have a high life condition, so that all these little problems are like this. My life is here. Here are all the little problems. It's like, you're not going to destroy my joy. I just won't allow it. So that's part of what you see. I also wanted to just mention you described yourself as a minority. And I'd like to ask, as of today, you stop saying that because you're
Oh,
not.
wow.
People of color are not minorities. Statistically, the US Census has been very clear that in the Northeast corridor, people of color are the majority. And in 10 years, people of color will be the majority throughout the United States. So the language we're using to describe ourselves is global
Global
majority. We are the
majority.
global majority. Because if you take Africa, India, Asia, we're the majority. So that's one reason. The second reason, when we say the word minorities, that suggests that we are less than. So we've created this hierarchy of white people are better? Never. So please, from today forward, proudly identify yourself either a woman of color, global majority, but not minority. That goes away as of today.
Did I promise you? I promised you that this guest was going to be so special. I'm so freaked out that you just said that. That is, I'm never going to. Global majority is fantastic. And it is the words we use. It is the words we use that we tell ourselves
Yes,
these stories over and over again.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Now, can you, I want to just, because it is Buddhism and the arts, can you tell us how you found Buddhism? Was it before you worked in the
Of
arts or
course.
after?
Of course.
Yes.
Yes. I was introduced to this practice by my high school English teacher. I'm from Chicago, and I have a twin sister. And we both just had this teacher we absolutely revered. She was wonderful. And we were sitting in her office one day, and she turned to us and she said, "Would you girls like to really be happy?" We were like, "Yeah, we thought we were, but okay, what you got?" And she says, "I will teach you about chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo." And so she gave us the newspaper. It's called the World Tribune. And she said, "I
Right.
know that you were brought up in a very strict Catholic family, so I'm not doing anything to offend, your mom. I'm just
Right.
exposing you to another path." And so we just said, "Oh, that's cool." We started telling our friends we were Buddhists because it was just like really different to say that as opposed to Catholic. And then, I told my boyfriend at the time, and he actually got involved and joined the organization. And he gave me a pair of beads that we use, our prayer beads, and our Lotus Sutra book, from which we recite two
Right.
chapters of the Lotus Sutra. So, but when he gave it to me, I was like, "Child, my life is fine. This is for people who are very, very nervous. I don't need this." So I put it in my drawer. So fast forward, I'm in my first year law school at Howard University, and I'm flunking out. And I've got colitis, hemorrhoids, migraines. It was a mess. So my mom had summoned me back home. She said, "This doesn't look like this is working for you." I said, "Yeah, but this was my dream. I've always wanted to be a lawyer." And so I just opened my night table drawer, and there I saw the book and beads. And I started chanting, and I've never stopped. That was in 1980. Actually, that was 1979. And I
Wow.
just never stopped because this gave me the resolution to return back to school and to focus on studying.
Right.
And so the first thing I met was one of the students there. He showed me how to study, how to brief my cases. You can't be going to parties every night. You're in law school. This is not undergrad. You got to focus. You got to, allocate at least 5 hours a day
Right.
to prep for each day. And so that helped me transform things. So every day I was chanting. And so when I graduated, I had achieved a B average, which I never had envisioned would happen based on what I was doing in my first year. So that really solidified
Right.
my faith that chanting can transform your life. And I'm going to stick with this and go as far as I can go. And so since that time, I've continued to grow and expand in my
Oh,
practice.
thank you so much for that. And so,
Yeah.
so one of the things that I loved when I walked into the Buddhist Culture Center on 15th Street, I'll never forget, I saw all
Yeah.
different races of people for the first time in a like a
Yeah.
philosophy, religious organization. I looked around, I went, okay, this is where I
Mm-hmm.
want to be, because I remember like everybody
Yep.
treated each
Yep.
other in a way that was different, and that we were all dedicated to kind of pulling value out of anything that happened in our life. Anyway, I don't want to go totally to the Buddhist thing, which
It's
yeah,
true.
it's totally true. But anyway, because I get so excited when I'm around you, because I met you first as my Buddhist leader. By the way, everybody, there are different districts all over the world where you can get involved in. And I think, what is your title? You're like the,
So in our organization, we have a Many Treasures group. And Many Treasures groups are for members who are 65 years and
almost me.
older. So I am a part of the leadership team for Many Treasures group in Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island. So I have the great fortune to encourage our members who are seniors to inspire them to not give up and to continue being vibrant and continue making a difference, whatever you do, and not think that, oh, I'm retired, I would just go watch TV. It's like, are you kidding? This is the best time because we now have wisdom.
Right.
I use one wisdom every day, every day. So this is the time that we need to put our hands on young people, help embrace them, help them guide them, because they are truly confused. So they need us. They need us. And so I'm part of a team that does this every single day. So it's wonderful.
Okay, Donna.
Wonderful.
So, all right. So now
Yes.
I'm looking down. I see all these keynote addresses that you've done. I see your workshops. I see your conference presentations. And so let's say, like, I
Yep.
see that you have Santa Fe Opera. I mean, do you travel to these places? I see that you went to Africa.
I do.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
do you travel
Yeah.
all?
I've been all over the
So
world.
it's not just America.
I've been to Australia lecturing,
See,
Moscow lecturing, Croatia.
so
I go where I'm invited.
okay,
That's
so
where I go.
so you have a team of people at Walker Communications. By the way, I love that it's your name, but it's also Communications Group, and that you surround yourself, as you said, with
Yes.
people that are like-minded in that way.
Yes.
And so, do you
That's right.
take your staff with you? Or do you go alone? What happens when somebody hires Walker?
No, no. Well, it depends on what they're hiring us
Right.
for. If it's for marketing, audience
Right.
development, community engagement, then yes, the team is working on those. Like right now, we're working with Alvin Ailey for their city center engagement. And so that's the team. We were working on the Black is Beautiful exhibition at the New York Historical Society. That's the team. But when they're asking for the diversity workshops or the keynote, they want me. And so I hop on the plane and go and give them 100%.
Okay.
I act as if that's maybe my last time.
See, I would love to be
I don't hold anything
in
back.
any of those audiences. And you were given an award by a group that I'm a member of, the League of Professional Theater Women, and they gave you an award too. And so that was amazing. So now let's
That's
go
right.
to the next generation. So here you are with the daughter.
Okay.
And when does your daughter chant, or
20 years
does she
old.
practice Buddhism? Okay.
No.
So
Mm-mm. She used to.
and so how do you she's multiracial, I believe, or no? Okay.
Yes.
Are
Yes, she
her
is.
questions to you in the world about where she is at her age? How is that working, the way you educate your children? Because you see, she's reading those books. She's reading those books that don't have her in there. Right? I mean, our history books and stuff.
That's right.
So does
That's
she
right.
come to you and say,
That's
Mom,
right.
I mean, what's the relation? I know teenager, it's a hard relationship. I know when I don't have children, but when I was a teenager with my mother, who I believe was in the audience, she's down.
You gave her a hard time.
Yes.
So, thanks to my Buddhist practice, I have developed patience. because you need a whole lot of that
Right.
with them. And yes, she has questions of identity. Am I black? Am I
Right.
white? And what do people think about me? Am I black or am I white? And so I try to have conversations about being secure in as to who you are and not to be influenced by what other people think, which means to have a strong life condition, to have a solid core that's unshakable. And so that's what I'm trying to teach her. It takes time because they're influenced by so many other things that I don't have control over, like TikTok. So for her, beauty is defined by what she sees on TikTok and not necessarily a black and white girl.
Right.
And so it's all of those factors. And so we try to have a very consistent dialogue. But more importantly, I try to be an example. I have to show her actual proof.
Yes.
So that's probably my primary goal. Yeah. But she's wonderful. She's wonderful. I'm so happy she chose me to be her mom.
Yeah, Donna. And by the way, for the last 5 minutes or so, if anybody, like I said before, wants to come up, ask a question, say something to Donna, this would be the time to do it because we have been blessed with like almost an hour of Donna's time, and I know she's incredibly busy. So Donna, these. Do you have to? You're involved in the marketing campaigns for? This is the last thing I want to talk about. How people, without maybe knowingly, are not reaching out in the theater world to the right audiences, like you said. Is there also programs like? I don't want to see. I'm so ignorant about this because I'm on the stage. I'm not even think. This is why I wanted you here. So do you say, okay, we're going to organize a bus from this town that never gets to experience Broadway or never gets to experience New York theater. And we're going to bring them in. Is it a group sales? Does it involve that? Like, what is it really? What are the nuts and bolts of what it involves to actually get people?
Yeah, the nuts. Sure. The nuts and bolts are first educating the community why they should be interested in the play. It just can't be because it's there. Like, why? Then secondly, you create promotional events for them to taste the product. And then you look at what the sales experience might be. And some of the sales can be groups. Some of the sales is based on theme nights, meaning like the night might be the Divine Nine night, which are the Black sororities and fraternities. And they're called the Divine Nine, the original nine that came together.
I don't even know that.
So a lot of the theaters now have a Divine Nine night, which means if you are a member, come on this night because you're going to be with your community. Or it's sometimes like at the public theater, they'll have a all black audience performance where if you identify as black, come on this day because you're going to be with your community. And so that's been definitely those kind of promotions. We do promotions in the community and neighborhoods. We work very closely with the faith-based organizations. The black churches are probably one of the most powerful platforms to communicate to black people. And so we have formed relationships with many churches where we can bring artists to the church, where the minister will talk about the production from a faith-based perspective. So if it's a civil rights piece or a piece about youth, they make those connections. And if it's a singer, they'll sing a gospel song, not a song from the show, but a gospel song. What that does is give the congregation a sense of the voice and what they might sound like in the show. And then we're in the church bulletin, which is primary real estate. Anytime you can get something in the church bulletin, because that's read more than anything else. And then we give out the flyers and postcards, and the artists stay until the end of service, and they stand next to the minister and shake hands with everyone as they're leaving and tell them, thank you, I hope I can see you. So that's been
the nuts and bolts.
A wonderful strategy.
Yeah, and there. Donna.
Yeah, and then a lot of digital.
Yeah, I just have to give you kudos because back then when you started, those people would all come in maybe to one of these plays and they wouldn't see themselves on stage. See, that's what I'm saying. That is changing slowly.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yes, it is.
But you said it's from a cultural and societal place about the material, which I love, that you're saying that, because how are you going to get people in seats?
Right.
if they're not going to see themselves, but now it's changing. Like I was in this, Tina.
And it has to be new work. New work.
Right.
It doesn't have to be Porgy and Bess anymore.
Right.
There's so many stories. So what I'm seeing people get excited about are new stories.
Yep.
So when I went to the Met Opera to see Fire Shut Up in My Bones, I cried because I saw so many Black people at the Met. But when I was trying 30 years ago to get them there, it was just so difficult because they didn't see themselves there. They were like, I need a mink coat. I need diamonds. I need a limo. I don't have what it takes to be at the Met. But now, because of all these concerted efforts and the power of that production, that opera was just magnificent, that they were there and very happy and confident. And, it was wonderful.
Well, if people want to get in touch with you, I mean, or, to hire you or to for something to talk to people or work with a group they're in, how is it best to go through your website?
Yeah. Yes, because there's an inquiry form.
Right.
And that way you can tell me what you're interested in, and I respond immediately. You don't have to worry. I always
You can always see, everybody, that Donna responds immediately. Okay. Well, can we please
because I respect the time.
I know.
I respect that.
And on that note, it's just, we want to all thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being here for this hour.
Thank you.
To talk in such a joyous way about what we need to hear. Please, everybody, check out Donna Walker Communications Group website. And we want to just thank you, Donna. It was just amazing, amazing, amazing to have you here for this hour.
Thank you.
All right.